Holy Trinity School in Leuven, Belgium. Nicolas de Becco's been attending for the past 5 years. Even so, he feels like an outsider.
I go to school where everyone else speaks Flemish, but I was brought up to speak French, so I don't have many friends here. Because we speak different languages, there's always a distance between us. I only know a few other French speakers at school, and we don't see much of each other. Not enough anyway. And all my lessons are in Flemish. I live in a Flemish-speaking area, so I have to speak Flemish. After all, you have to speak the language of the place where you live.
At school, Nicolas isn't allowed to speak French.
If I'm in the playground with French-speaking friends, we do speak French together. But when a teacher goes by, we have to switch to Flemish at once.
In this programme, we find out what it's like to live among people who speak a different language. And how in Belgium they cope with the problems caused by having 2 national languages in one country. In Wallonia, they speak French. And in Flanders, most people speak Flemish. Leuven is where Nicolas lives. Here in Leuven, people speak Flemish. It's very like Dutch, which Flemish speakers can understand. The problem is many of them can't understand French, and many French-speaking Belgians can't communicate in Flemish. Having 2 languages in one country does cause problems. This butcher's sign is written in both languages, like many other Belgian signs. Big towns and cities have 2 names. Leuven is the Flemish name and Louvain is French. There are separate French and Flemish national newspapers in Belgium. Het Belang van Limburg is Flemish and Le Soir is French. Most Belgians choose to live in an area where people speak the same language as them. But there are exceptions, like the de Becco family, who live in a suburb of Flemish-speaking Leuven. Their first language is French, even though Nicolas, his brother Dimitri, and their mother Fabienne were all born in Flanders. Only their father, Reginald, was born in Wallonia, where they speak French.
As, et de 2, et de 3. Je suis venu étudier le droit ici à Louvain.
I came to Leuven to study law. At that time, the French university was still based here. And it was while I was studying that I met Fabienne, who was working at the record library. Fabienne's family is French-speaking, even though they've lived in Leuven for generations.
Depuis très longtemps ici à Louvain.
J'habite ici depuis ma naissance dans cette ville.
I've lived here since I was born, so I'm used to living with people who speak a different language.
Because French is his first language, Nicolas prefers to listen to French music. But this shop in Leuven stocks mostly Flemish songs. When he does find something he likes, he has to speak Flemish when he's paying for it. Nicolas' mother works in a record library called Mediatek. Most of the customers speak Flemish, so you'll usually hear Flemish music playing. Fabienne speaks French and Flemish equally well. She's bilingual.
We're in Leuven, which is a Flemish city, so it's normal to speak Flemish. I speak Flemish all day at work and then go home and speak French. I'm hardly aware of doing it. You won't get very far in Belgium unless you can speak Flemish, except in Wallonia, of course. But in Leuven, and certainly in Brussels, you have to be bilingual to get on.
Echt onontbeerlijk is van tweetalig te zijn.
Twee. En voor hem hebt u ijs nog? Nee, geen ijs. En ook geen warme water. Ja.
The Debecos are used to changing from one language to the other. Reginald is speaking Flemish to the shop assistant.
Ja, ik denk het wel. Ja, voilà. Dank u. Bedankt.
But he speaks French with the boys.
Bon. Et voilà.
I can't believe that there were so few French CDs in the record shop.
Mais tu dois aller à Bruxelles.
Well, yes, if you went to Brussels, you'd find a lot more French music.
It's just because we live in Flanders.
Oui, mais enfin bon, ils ont...
Yes, there's plenty of Flemish and English music here, but you won't find much French music in Leuven.
C'est pas à Louvain que tu vas trouver. Oui.
Even for people who are bilingual, living among others who speak a different language can be frustrating. This time, Nicolas did manage to find some French music that he liked.
I get really fed up. If I lived in a French-speaking region and I wanted to give a party, there'd be no problem. I'd know straight away who to invite. I'd just ask my friends and people from school. But if I want to give a party here, I get a complete mental block about who to invite. My Flemish friends don't get on with my Walloon friends. They just don't mix. I'd like to ask the Flemish people I know, but I don't know that many. So I end up only inviting French-speaking Walloons. It's a real problem.
Dat is beter, ja. De ringen gaat nu gestrekt naar boven komen. Op, ja, houden stilletjes even. Vouw, hang, rustig aan. Nu traag optrekken en terugkeren. Terug, traag. Ja, goed.
Nicolas has a French-speaking girlfriend.
We don't see much of each other because she lives in Brussels. It causes problems, but I wouldn't want a Flemish girlfriend. Flemish girls have their own friends. They're not interested in me because I speak French. We don't have much to do with each other.
Living in Flemish-speaking Flanders isn't easy for Nicolas. He'd much rather live in a French-speaking part of Belgium. Maybe the neighbours would agree. How would you feel about living somewhere where you couldn't always speak your first language?
Grand-mère m'a prêté son album de photos. Regardez ça, c'est grand-père quand il était petit.
Belgium hasn't always been an independent country. Flanders and Wallonia were once part of the Protestant Dutch Empire.
Alors ici. Ah oui, ça c'est amusant. Tu as déjà vu?
During the lifetime of Fabienne's great-great-great-uncle, the Catholic provinces of Flanders and Wallonia banded together to fight for their religious independence.
Avec Napoléon.
In 1830, after a bloody war, they succeeded and the Kingdom of Belgium was created. At first, the south of Belgium was very wealthy. Wallonia had huge coal reserves, which fueled a fast-growing industry. The French-speaking Walloons became richer and more powerful than the Flemish-speaking people of Flanders, who had no coal. To the annoyance of the Flemings, French became the top language, the language for education, administration and government in all of Belgium. During the two world wars, most Belgian army officers only spoke French, even when they were commanding soldiers who could only speak Flemish. Flemish speakers started to feel resentful. But the days of the French having all the power were numbered. In Belgium's rich French-speaking south, industrial cities like Charleroi were losing their source of wealth. Since the Second World War, heavy industry all over Europe has declined. Factories have closed down. Mines have been exhausted. This left many people out of work in Wallonia. At the job centre in Charleroi, there are few jobs on offer and lots of people looking for work. There's little new industry here to fill the gap. A spokesman for the job centre explains.
It's very hard for young people in Charleroi to find a job because of the automation and modernisation of the steel industry. Anyway, there are fewer jobs around. There's very little for young people these days, unless they can go on to further study and get better qualifications. Even then, it's not easy.
Having so many people on the dole is expensive for the whole country. The wealth and power of Wallonia has faded, but across the language border, Flemish cities like Antwerp are booming. These days, it's Flanders in the north of Belgium that's making money. Some of the wealth comes from its old established businesses, like diamond trading. But most comes from the new industries. At the job centre in Antwerp, there's plenty of work on offer. The rate of unemployment in Flanders is half that of Wallonia. Much of the work is in the new chemical and manufacturing industries. Antwerp has attracted these new industries because it's one of Belgium's 3 major ports. All of them are in Flanders. The deep water harbour allows raw materials to be brought in easily and cheaply. Finished goods are exported worldwide. There's also plenty of flat, undeveloped land near the harbour, ideal for building new industrial complexes. Over the past 20 years, the petrochemical industry here has boomed, and it's still growing. Guido Spillemakers got a job with one of the petrochemical companies.
Dat hangt heel veel vanaf van uw diploma-opleiding.
Getting a job depends on how well qualified you are. If you have a technical diploma, it's not hard to get a job here. I saw this vacancy advertised in the paper, so it wasn't a problem. It all depends on picking the right moment to apply. There are times when the factory suddenly mushroom, and if you happen to be there at the right time, you get a job. It's just a question of timing.
En als je daar dan bij bent, dan van timing, hè.
People who have work in Flanders, like Guido, are starting to resent having to pay taxes to support unemployed people in Wallonia.
I am a Belgian, but Belgium is divided into Flanders and Wallonia.
Feelings about those divisions are getting stronger. Can you think of any divisions like this in the UK? Even in the quiet streets of Leuven, strong feelings about the language divide have led to violence. Until recently, the university taught in French. Flemish students' anger about this erupted into violent riots, which forced the university to split. The French half moved to Wallonia. Students here are now taught in Flemish.
Woodford won dit jaar samen met Woodbridge 7 dubbeltoernooien. Ook hier is een toernooi dit
For Flemish to get a fair hearing, Belgians have had to make a lot of compromises, like providing TV in both languages. RTB broadcasts to Belgium in French. BRT in Flemish.
C'est terminé.
Which side does Nicolas support?
Belgium, just Belgium. Sport has nothing to do with language divisions. In sport, it's not Flanders or Wallonia that wins, it's Belgium.
Belgium is also united by its king and queen. King Baudouin is popular with both Flemish and Walloon subjects, and so is Queen Fabiola. But it takes more than a king and queen to hold Belgium together. All Belgium's public information, like the laws of the land and school curricula, has to be made available in both languages. There are lots of radio stations to cater for the different languages and for different tastes. Every day, Nicolas' father, Reginald, commutes to Brussels, where he works as a lawyer. He works on the French side of the Belgian legal system.
We have French-speaking judges and Flemish-speaking judges. Courts that deal with cases only in French, and courts that only deal with cases in Flemish. They're often in the same building, but they work quite separately. I work solely in French because I believe that to represent someone, you must be able to speak the language perfectly. I don't think my Flemish is good enough to let me plead in Flemish. It can happen that a French-speaking person living in a Flemish territory, for example, may not be allowed to go to court in their own language. They have to use the language of the region. Is this discrimination? Well, it's a problem, and we have to take it seriously.
The bilingual system may or may not be fair. It's certainly expensive. Most of the time, though, the majority of Belgians are happy with the way things are working. But a small number of Flemish nationalists are campaigning for an independent Flanders. If they got their way and the country did split up, it would create new problems. Many people have strong links with both communities. For instance, where would Nicolas want to live?
Brussels, it's both Wallonia and Flanders. It's both. It is Belgium.
But where would Brussels belong if there was no Belgium? Brussels is in Flanders, but it's a mainly French-speaking city, and it's of international importance. It's difficult to imagine the French-speaking citizens of Brussels agreeing to become part of an independent Flanders. Without Brussels, Flanders on its own probably wouldn't have enough influence to attract international organisations, like the European Parliament and NATO, and to encourage international businessmen and investors to spend their money here. Flanders would save money by not having to support the unemployed people in Wallonia. But Belgium as a whole would certainly be poorer. Many different voices are heard in Belgium today. For now, it remains one nation.
Since this programme was made, King Baudouin has died and been succeeded by his brother Albert. The monarchy continues to be an important unifying force in Belgium.
Two teacher's guides, price £4.95 for both, include suggestions for using the programmes and a wealth of photocopyable material. The Satellite Eye Over Europe photo pack, at £22.20, contains a selection of full-colour photographs and has resource sheets for classroom work. To purchase these items, please write, making cheques payable to the Educational Television Company, P.O. Box 100, Warwick, CV 34 6TZ. For further information, call 0926 433333.
The Earth's climate was warmer than today. The warm tropical sea